It's Luke, warehouse manager, and I shot this video already and it was like 20 minutes, so I was like, I'm never gonna be able to edit that down. Here's me trying to make a shorter video about how to enjoy longer rides. Now, I want to get out of the way. I don't think that going on longer rides, liking longer rides, makes you a serious cyclist or not. I'm mostly just saying maybe you're someone who's riding a lot or riding some, like you're commuting into work and you want to figure out how that can kind of translate to having longer rides recreating on the weekend, or maybe you take public transportation or drive part of the way into work and you'd like to know how you can just bike the whole thing. So like for example, I bike to and from work every day. I work in South San Francisco, which is a bit south of the city of San Francisco, which is where I live. And the tips that I'm going to share from commuting long distances and also going on longer rides and what I found works for me. So I'll walk you through a few of the things that I've done on my bike first, and we'll go from there. So the few of the things that I've done on my bike, I found that for longer recreational rides, I don't really like having bags on my bike. I think that they stink. I don't like accessibility, and I don't need to carry a bunch of stuff because I know how the conditions are going to be while I'm on my ride. While I'm commuting, I like having bags on my bike. So I have got a couple Ortlieb panniers. I've had Swift panniers, borrowing from a friend of mine. Thank you, Antonio. Giving them back right now. And I've on another bike of mine, I've also had a basket bag. I've had a saddle bag. I've had all numbers, different kinds of bags, but all with the aim of having stuff off of my back, especially as I'm commuting. Now, when I'm on a shorter recreational ride, say going up to Marin, I don't really want a bag up there jostling around. I don't really want these bags jostling around. The hardware is pretty good, but I just don't want to listen to it. So I just wear a small bag on my back. And you have to find what works for you. I run really warm. I hate carrying stuff on my back, and I do it only as a last resort. Now, something else to consider is, okay, so now I'm figuring out what kind of gear I'm carrying depending on the ride. Like, are you commuting? Then maybe you don't need to carry water because you're going from point A to point B. You know where water is going to be. That's how it is for me. I know that where I'm leaving, my home, and where I'm going, work, both have water if I want it. And then along the way, I'm passing countless corner stores. Why do I need to carry water? I don't need to. I can if I want, but I usually don't, especially on this bike. I like kind of having it as light as possible, even though it's not a race bike. And then, so how are you carrying water? Are you carrying water? Are you carrying snacks? Then, do you want bags? Do you want something on your back? And then how can you be comfortable with footwear? So for me, I've got these really ugly, red backs. I'm not sponsored by them, not getting a cut. I just like them. I'm on my feet all day in the warehouse. And then I don't ride with clips. I ride with pedals like this. These are some of the Riv Gammas, so they're Lambdas with a slightly different surface and some pins in them. And I've ridden in Vans, I've ridden in Birkenstocks, I've ridden with these shoes here, I've ridden with other Chelsea boots, lace-up boots, all sorts of stuff. I've definitely clipped in. It isn't for me. I prefer both recreating and commuting with a flat pedal. It just works for me. This is not prescriptive. It's not meant to be an absolute. If you like clipping in, do it. The only recommendation I'd have with clipping in is have a clip-in shoe that has a method of attachment that's readily replaceable should it break while you're on the road. So SPDs, they're great because you can be at a shop, they probably have it, you can replace it. And I also recommend mountain over road shoes, simply because they're easier to walk in. And if you got to hike a bike at any point on a long commute, or you're recreating, you hit dirt, whatever, you have a flat, you got to walk your bike. It's just a whole lot less of a pain in the ass to walk with mountain clip-in shoes. And you can get like, you can 510s are like a flat pedal shoe, but you can get specialized mountain clip-in shoes for $100 a pair, or you can go crazy and get some BOA situation past the 300 mark. It doesn't really matter. I think it's just important that you have a shoe that's comfortable, and that when you go for a ride, you're like, yeah, I'm looking forward to getting that on. You know, for me, I always look forward to getting these on. They're super comfortable. And with the wool socks I wear, they're cool enough in the summer and warm enough in the winter that I'm never bummed. That's the thing. Get the stuff that makes sure that when you get out to go on the bike, you're not bummed. Never bummed. Never bummed. Another thing is, what's your gearing? Where are you riding? So for me, this bike is, on the lighter side for me. I don't even know how much it weighs. I just know it doesn't weigh as much as my other bike. And I've got a 40/26 up front with a 7-speed 11 to 34. I have this bike built not to go fast. It is to climb. And I live in the Bay Area, and I run into a lot of elevation change both on my commute and while I'm riding in Marin. So I have an S-Ride 11 to 34 back here that is perfect for me. I've had this on a bunch of bikes of mine, but I spend most of my time in that 40-tooth outer, and kind of, as you can see, pretty much in the middle of the cassette to the 11-tooth cog. That's pretty much where I ride. And then when I'm doing some really serious climbing, I'll pop out to, the 34-tooth. Especially there's this horrible hill as I leave work that really sucks. And then going up the Tam, I'm usually probably middle of the cassette, and I vary between standing and sitting. That's another thing. How do you ride? Based on how you ride, you may want to change your gearing. But that's something, the gearing, and then, how are you riding? What kind of pedals do you want? How are you carrying water? How are you carrying snacks? What kind of bags? I have a list over here I'm going to refer to real quick. Oh, of course, sunscreen and tools. So in the bag you can't see over there, I have a small tool roll, essentially, made by my friend Harry over at Hungry Bags. And then I've got this frame pump over here, and I run tubes. I've run tubeless before too. Tubeless doesn't matter. If you live in goat head country, tubeless I think is just imperative. I think, I have the luxury. I can choose tubeless or tubed. I don't like tubeless. It doesn't work for me. I don't like the cons. I like the cons of running tube better. Who cares? Doesn't matter. But I carry the tools that I need, like a patch kit and that frame pump that I have on the seat stay. That works for me. And then the thing that I can't link to a product in the store, and I don't have any interest in becoming a skincare company, sunscreen. So I am, I think it's both because I'm lazy and because I'm really tall. I have a lot of area to cover. I just have a spray sunscreen for my body. I'm not married to any particular spray sunscreen. It's mostly, it's like with all this stuff I'm talking about, do I want to use it? If I don't want to use it, then it's useless to me. So because it's a spray sunscreen and it's 50 SPF, I want to use it. So I spray this all over it, and then I have a separate face sunscreen that I use. Again, brand isn't important. Find the one you like, find the one that's in your price range, and that has, I generally like recommending 50 SPF and above. This is not a doctor's endorsement. I'm not a medical professional. Let's see. Something that I also think is pretty important is, where the heck are you riding? Do you know where you're going? I do. When I'm going into Marin, I don't need a map. I know where I'm going. I know all the trails I'm gonna ride during a day ride all the way up to Fairfax and past. That's good enough for me. And when I'm commuting into work, I have an idea of where I'm going. So if I wanna go on a long ride, I always like knowing where I'm going, kind of what features I can expect, how to prepare for that, what kind of clothing I'm gonna wear. For me, I have a bunch of, cotton t-shirts. I have a wool sweater for when I get cold. I don't really get cold. I have a hat when it's super sunny and it's cold and I want to wear a hat, don't want to wear a sweater. But have the right layers for you depending on how long you're going to be out and what kind of weather you can expect. And then that combined with knowing the route. I think that's so critical. Where are you going to be and how are you going to get back? And that's something I like remembering is, when I'm on a bike ride, I'm doing this because it's fun. If I stop having fun, I'm going home. It doesn't matter where I am, I'm gonna bail. If I have to take a ferry, if I have to take the bus, if I have to have my wife pick me up, that's what I do. I don't like going out and suffering needlessly. Unless you want to suffer on your ride, that's cool. I don't. I like having a nice time. So I hope that was helpful. Definitely kept it under 10 minutes. That is hugely impressive for how passionately I feel about this. And obviously I have a bunch of editing ahead of me. So take care. Bye.